This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How are you doing on this Tuesday? This is the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. Of course, I am Joe Gaither. You can find me at Joe Gaither6 for all your social media needs. You can find me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon at the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral. And you can find BamaCentral at BamaCentral on X, at BamaCentral SI on Instagram, at Alabama Crimson Tide on Sports Illustrated on Facebook. And, of course, the easiest way is at BamaCentral.com. We're going to have a fun Tuesday show. Hope you guys are doing well. It is a wet and rainy Tuesday here in Tuscaloosa. We are excited for a midweek basketball game tonight. We're going to talk about Alabama and Florida, as well as the rest of the SEC slate. We'll dive into really Joe Lunardi's latest bracketology. We're going to talk about Arch Manning. Arch Manning making a very interesting decision. We don't quite understand Arch Manning's choice here. We're going to talk about Arch Manning in just a little bit. And then we'll round out the show and finish it with Alabama football head coach Kalen DeBoer having his first press conference yesterday after spring practice concluded. His first spring practice concluded right here in charge of the University of Alabama's football program. So that was a lot of fun, and that's going to be our program today. As always, we invite you to jump into the show on the comments on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube at Joe Gaither6. You can be a part of it. Subscribe, rate, and review the show and send it to a friend. And let's get right into it with tonight's basketball game against the Florida Gators. Alabama taking on Florida at 6 o'clock. So that's in about 4 hours. You're going to be able to follow our man Blake Byler. Drove down to Gainesville. You're taking on the Gators. You're a 1.5-point underdog, and you're licking your wounds after falling to Tennessee. And look, you know that the season, at least the SEC regular season, is all but over. Not over yet, but all but over. You put on a good performance against Florida. I mean, you're fighting for seeding here. You're fighting for seeding in the SEC tournament, and you're fighting for seeding in the NCAA tournament. Right now, you've got the number 2 seed in the SEC tournament, and you're sitting there at a 3, 4, 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. So you got a chance. You want to end up on the 3 line, really, in the NCAA tournament, and you can do that with a good close of your season. You've kind of fallen to the 4 line on a lot of these guys' bracketology. You can get back into that 3 line with a good close to your season. Now, Florida's not going to be easy. Florida also fighting for seeding in both the SEC and NCAA tournament. They're going to be in the NCAA tournament. They're one of the locks to be in the tournament. They're 20-9. And you know what they did right here in Tuscaloosa a couple of weeks ago. What was it? 98-93 in overtime. Alabama beats Florida. Florida's up in the second half, and Alabama just has to dig. Their last lead, their largest lead was by 10 points in the second half. Okay, so Florida got all over you. Yeah, I'm just looking at the box score, getting distracted by the box score from February 22nd right here in Coleman Coliseum. But Walter Clayton Jr. basically went crazy. 27 points. Zion Pullen was right next to him, 17 points. You basically let everybody who was a guard go off. You had Will Richard as well with 17. Everybody who played guard went off because that's a little bit where, in my opinion, the on-ball defending took a huge hit. Now, the Florida game was the first game you didn't have Latrell Wrightsell. And will you have Latrell Wrightsell tonight? Latrell did make the trip. He went down to Gainesville, and you need him back in the lineup in a bad way, in my opinion. If you get him back into the lineup, or if you have had him in the lineup, I mean, Kentucky probably beat you anyways. Kentucky, the way they shot the basketball, probably beat you anyways. Maybe you cut down on your turnovers just a little bit up in Lexington, and that leaves you in the game a little bit. You shot the basketball pretty well. Now Latrell shoots it really, really well. So like you might have lost in Lexington anyways, but I feel like Latrell Wrightsell would have been a huge difference maker against Tennessee on Saturday night. So maybe you get Latrell back. It seems like that might be the way it's leaning tonight as they're taking on Florida. That's going to do a huge thing. It's going to reset your rotation. It's going to allow you to not play Mark Sears as much. It's going to it takes a little bit of pressure off of Aaron Estrada as a creator and as a shot maker. It takes a little bit of pressure off of Rylan Griffin as a shot maker as well. You can get back into your 4x1 lineup where you've got your 4 guards and your Grant Nelson, and then you can rotate rotational pieces off the bench as necessary for basically for fatigue purposes. I think Alabama's going to have a hard time tonight. I think Alabama's probably going to be disappointed because I think Florida's going to play desperately, and we've seen a lot of the home games, the home teams play very. I mean, the SEC's record at home is incredible this year. I think it's going to be a huge challenge tonight. I'll be surprised if Alabama wins. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair against the Florida Gators. I want to pick Alabama to win. I'll be honest with you. I do want to pick Alabama to win, and I want to pick Alabama to win like 93-89. But my gut is saying it's going to be lower than that, and my gut is saying Alabama's going to lose. And so you got to listen to your gut. My gut is saying Alabama 85, Florida 88, probably in that range. I think it's going to be a very, very close ball game, an entertaining ball game tonight. Hopefully, I mean, from an Alabama perspective, you can win your final SEC road game of the year and get some momentum, close out the year with the Arkansas Razorbacks. You get Latrell Wrightsell back and you get prepared for the postseason. But huge challenge tonight in Gainesville. Follow Blake Byler at Blake Byler 45 on the X machine on Twitter. Is that his Twitter? Let me make sure. Yeah, at Blake Byler 45 for all his coverage down there in Gainesville tonight, and BamaCentral for all of our coverage as a staff on BamaCentral.com. So it's going to be interesting. Will you get Latrell Wrightsell back? Okay, let's brainstorm. Let's brainstorm some keys to the game tonight to win. When you played the last time you played Florida, didn't they beat you up on the boards? Total rebounds. Yeah, 44. No, Alabama won. 54 total rebounds to 44. Offensive boards, they had 17. Alabama, you got after it on the offensive rebounds with 22. Alabama was 8 of 32 from the three-point line. Florida was 9 of 30, so they actually shot just a little bit better from deep. I'm going to say keys to the game are basically going to be turnovers are 11 or fewer. 11 or fewer turnovers are going. Look, if you can get that and turn those into shots, you're going to be doing A-okay. Turnovers, and I want to get to the free throw line more than Florida tonight. You kind of Tennessee dictated. Tennessee got to the free throw line a little bit more than you on Saturday. I want to get to the free throw line a lot more tonight. Let Mark and get the right guys to the free throw line. Get the Mark Searses to the free throw line. Get the Rylan Griffins and the Aaron Estradas to the free throw line. I love you, Nick Pringle, and Nick Pringle has obviously improved from the free throw line. At least that one-handed approach has raised his free throw percentage over the last couple of weeks. But we want to see Mark Sears getting to the free throw line. We want to see Grant Nelson getting to the free throw line. So key number 2 is going to be to basically get to the free throw line and convert at the free throw line at a higher rate, higher percentage than Florida. And number 3 is going to be foul trouble. You have to defend without fouling. Grant Nelson. You have to defend without fouling. Nick Pringle. You have to rebound without fouling. Muhammad Diabate. You have to set screens. You cannot set these moving screens. You cannot have these offensive turnovers because of moving screens, because of these offensive fouls. So really, that's going to be. I think maybe that's my biggest key to the game is give Nate Oates the roster flexibility to dictate to the other teams because you're not in foul trouble. When you get into foul trouble from an Alabama perspective, basically Alabama's gotten cooked in pretty much almost every game that it's had guys get fouled out. Now, Grant, I think, has fouled out in a couple games where Alabama has won, but you had the series where you had Muhammad Wagi and Nick Pringle go back-to-back games, both getting fouled out. Alabama just has to defend and rebound better, a little bit more controlled. And I wonder if that's an athleticism issue or maybe a basketball IQ issue. You just got to make smarter decisions with your 5 fouls and allow Nate Oates to use the roster to basically dictate the way he wants to make things challenging for the other team. When Alabama gets into foul trouble and you don't have as many options, Grant Nelson goes to the bench a lot more in the second half against Tennessee. I think it becomes more challenging for the Crimson Tide. I'd like to see Mohamoud Diabate get more minutes tonight. We've talked about that a little bit on the program already. I'd like to see, look, Mohamoud Diabate in his last 13 minutes has gotten 13 rebounds, 7 rebounds in 7 minutes against Tennessee. He is not a shooter. Look, and you don't need that. You don't need that. You've got enough shooting on this team in Sears, in Estrada, in Grant Nelson and Rylan Griffin. You've got enough shooting on this team, especially if you get Latrell Wrightsell back. You have plenty of shooting. You need the nasty. You need the dirty work. And Nick Pringle does give you a bit of that from the front court perspective. But Diabate from the wing can both impact the offensive back for get up and defend somebody. I think that he can rebound very, very well for a 3, for a 4. I think that he plays with a lot of grit, and I'd like to see Mohamoud Diabate get more run on this Alabama team as the season gets into the postseason. Now, I'm not counting on him to get double-digit points now, but he has, because he gets the hoop very, very effectively. And so I think that he's a player that I'd like to see Alabama play a bit more going down the stretch with the last couple of games. Now, look, okay, so I predicted Alabama to lose, and I said, 88-85 Florida. I hate that. I hate myself for saying that, but that's how I'm feeling like the game is going to go, so we give it to you straight. That's at 6 o'clock on ESPN. The other 3 games in the SEC in the midweek is Ole Miss and Georgia is tonight at 6 o'clock on SEC Network. Georgia, a 2.5-point favorite. Why in the world would you watch this game? Ole Miss and Georgia both going to miss the tournament. Get the bleep out of here. We'll just go ahead and give it to the Georgia Bulldogs. But Ole Miss is playing desperate. Actually, no, we'll give it to Ole Miss. Winning on the road. They're playing very, very desperate. They have to, they're on the bubble. Georgia's firmly out. Ole Miss is at least on the bubble. 8 o'clock, Auburn is at Missouri. Missouri's 0-16. 2 games left for Missouri to get a win in conference play. Not happening tonight. Auburn, an 11.5-point road favorite. I don't know if you cover the 11.5, but I would not be surprised. I think it's going to be an easy win for the Auburn Tigers. And there is your 3 games on Tuesday. Florida, Ole Miss, and Auburn are my winners. Now, what about Wednesday? Wednesday, you got Tennessee at South Carolina, and that's what you're really going to be paying attention to from an Alabama perspective. Can South Carolina get the upset and kind of give you that split, help you get back into that split zone with Tennessee? I don't think so. I think Tennessee's playing really, really high-level basketball as the season comes down to the stretch. I'm going to take Tennessee at 6 o'clock on ESPN2 on Wednesday. At 6 o'clock on SEC Network, another game you should not watch. LSU is at Arkansas. Oh my gosh, horrific basketball. We'll say Arkansas wins at home. We'll give them a win. We'll give them a bump right there. Vanderbilt is at Kentucky at 8 o'clock on SEC Network. Kentucky is going to win pretty easily. I don't know. Kentucky can play a bad game and win against the Vanderbilt Commodores, and they might just do that. And then at 8 o'clock on ESPN-U, this game got relegated to the U. Mississippi State is at Texas A&M. State really needs a win because they're kind of on that bubble as well. Both teams, A&M and State, both playing on the bubble. So that's going to be a fun game to watch, even though I guess not the best teams in the SEC. I'm going to go I'll go Tolu Smith. I'll go Tolu Smith and who is it? Chris Chance and Mississippi State winning that game. So your Wednesday games, I'm taking Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Mississippi State. There's your midweek slate. We'll see how Alabama does tonight against the Florida Gators. I'm hoping I am wrong. I am expecting a loss. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping Latrell Wrightsell gets back into the lineup. They cut down the turnovers. They go 11 or fewer from the turnover perspective. They rebound and defend without fouling. That's going to be a huge one on the road down there in Gainesville. So we'll see what happens. And you can follow Blake Byler again, Blake Byler 45 on the Twitter machine for all of his coverage on site. Let's get into the next topic, and we're going to stay in the SEC, not with Alabama, but in the SEC with Arch Manning as the dog and the cat are wrestling to my right. Yeah, we see you. Yeah, we see you right there. Yeah, they can't see you because of the green screen, but you're being a bad girl. All right, so Arch Manning decides to not opt into EA Sports 2025. Why not? If you are paying attention to the show, we've covered EA Sports 2025, the video game, just a little bit here and there as news breaks. You've got Jalen Milroe, who's opted into the game. You've got a lot of Alabama players who opted into the game. Ryan Williams has declared he's in the game. Malachi Moore, hey, you need to get back, sweet girl. Yeah, you need to get back. Ryan Williams is in the game. You've got a lot of Alabama players in the game. And EA Sports, I think they said they had over, did they say 10,000 or did they say 1,000? They said a pretty big round number is have opted into the game. And you get $600 and you get a copy of the game to opt in. And what do you have to do? I'm sure it's very minimal. You got to send in a face scan and probably sign your name on a PDF document. Give them your bank routing information so you can get your $600. But Arch Manning decides, I'm not opting into the game. You're not going to be able to play with Arch Manning with the Texas Longhorns. Now, granted, he's not the starting quarterback. It's Quinn Ewers who's the starting quarterback, and Quinn Ewers might be your cover athlete. He's got pretty good, he's going to be in the conversation for cover athlete along with, Jalen Milroe, Carson Beck. There's going to be a lot of players that are in that conversation. Maybe you give it to last year's Heisman Trophy winner, Jaden Daniels. It's going to be fun to see who they put on the cover. But Arch Manning, he's going to be, he's a household name. He's a household name. And so I don't understand. He says, I'm not opting into the game because I'm focusing on football. And that's great. That's the right answer. That's the grade A answer. Good for you, Arch Manning. But I don't understand what the timer, and maybe this is something that I'm missing. Is there a different time requirement past, I'm signing my name, Joe Gaither, on the PDF. You can put Joe Gaither on the character in the game, and here's a picture of my face so that you can get a general idea of what my face looks like. So, if it's it's not going to take much time. It's going to take probably an hour's worth of your time total. An hour's worth of your time. And are you just too cool to put yourself in a video game? Or you see a lot of people suggesting that the Manning family doesn't want to see Arch Manning rated as like a 71, rated as like a 68, rated as a 74. And I don't think that's it either. There's surely no way that he's that vain that he doesn't want to see, that he doesn't want to be in the game rated low because he hasn't got a whole lot of playing time at Texas. I mean, come on. He's a young kid playing at Texas. It's fine if you're rated low. That's kind of like, it is what it is. You haven't got your opportunities yet. You're playing behind a 5-star player in Quinn Ewers who has experience. It's no big deal. It's no knock on Arch Manning. It's fine. So I don't really think that that's the case either. I don't know. I don't really buy you, Arch Manning. You're I don't want to be in the game. I'm not opting into the game because I'm focused on actually playing football on the field. That's great, and that's a nice canned answer, but it doesn't make sense unless there's something I'm missing as far as time requirements to be in the game. And if that's the case, I'm going to try to find out if there's more time requirements than just signing the document to opt in and giving your face scan and, saying, sweet, here's my address to send a copy of the video game. Like, that shouldn't take you that long. But Arch Manning coming out and opting out of EA Sports NCAA 2025 that's going to be coming out this summer. Will you be buying the video game? Are you sad that Arch Manning's not going to be in it? Who's going to be the Alabama player you're most excited to play with? You're seeing a lot of hypothetical ratings for Jalen Milroe, the Alabama quarterback. We'll talk about him in just a moment, but you're seeing ratings of 90, 93, 95. What do you think Jalen Milroe should be rated? You think about it, you do have to understand some of the passing deficiencies that are there, but he's had a hell of a deep ball, an unbelievable deep ball, and he's an amazing athlete. He's going to be a lot of fun to play with on the game. It takes you back to the Michael Vicks, takes you back to the dual threat quarterbacks of old that you could really manipulate and hurt opponents with playing video games. I think Jalen Milroe is going to be one of the most popular players, not only for Alabama fans, but for competitive players who choose to play this game competitively. Like you've got the Madden players who do it professionally. I'm not about that, and we won't cover that really too much at all. But I do think it's fascinating. I do think it's crazy. People making a living playing Madden and playing NCAA. There's going to be people doing that with the new EA Sports 2025 game, and maybe they will use Jalen Milroe as their MVP. Speaking of Jalen Milroe, we were in the Malmore Athletic Facility yesterday, there for Kalen DeBoer's first spring practice press conference. Hey, Y'all need to stop it. Really, I'm sorry. Y'all need to stop it. The dog and the cat. I apologize to all the viewers and the listeners. The dog and the cat are wrestling beneath me. We were in the Malmore Athletic Facility yesterday, and Kalen DeBoer was having his first press conference after his first practice. Spring practice opened yesterday, and it was a lot of fun to be there, absolutely. And the room was full. Everybody wanted to be at the new to see the regime change, and it was an interesting scene for sure. But Kalen DeBoer, what is he? What's your reaction to him as a coach, as a personality? I wonder. A little part of me finds him a little bit dull as a personality, but maybe that's a good thing. You had a lot of reaction after his initial press conference, his introductory press conference of, oh, he knocked it out of the park. But I didn't feel like he did great or did bad. And really, as far as yesterday went, I feel the same sort of way. I don't think he did great. I don't think he did bad in front of the podium. It doesn't really matter what he does at the podium. And what it matters is what he does on the phone with recruits and on the field with the X's and O's and in the film room with the players. But I really don't know if he has a dynamic personality for the media. Now, what I do appreciate is he seems to have a lot more time for the media, and that is very, 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 very appreciated. So he gave a nice lengthy 15-minute press conference yesterday talking about spring practice, opening up spring practice, basically saying that the fourth quarter program that the Alabama players just participated in stayed the same as it was under head coach Nick Saban, and he basically said it's been a winning formula. We wanted to keep it. What was the most interesting thing he said? See, he was kind of dull. The most interesting things that he said to me was the helmet communication. Basically, Alabama was testing out in-helmet communication. The NCAA has approved programs putting helmet to helmet, microphones in the quarterback's helmets to communicate and call the plays. So that was interesting that they were already testing that out on day one. And then number two, the other big interesting thing, people talking about Jalen Milroe being quarterback one. Like, who did you expect was going to take the first quarterback reps? I'm sorry. Like, basically, coaches asked if everybody has a clean slate, and it was a good question, and it's a good line of questioning. It was on my list. I didn't get called on. There was too many people, too many times, too little time, and that's A-okay. But what my list was basically, how are you going to handle the incoming players, the returning players? You had, 10, 11 players returning as starters from last year, Jalen Milroe being the most popular, most prominent player. How are you going to handle these guys who are returning starters? Are they going to be returning starters again, or is everything up for grabs? And basically, he says everything is up for grabs. It's an open competition. But he acknowledges yesterday that someone has to take the first reps. You got to take the one. Somebody's got to be up there when the first snaps happen. And Jalen Milroe was that guy, is what he said. And that was the ones, and we called him. And look, Tyler Booker is going to be your one left guard. It's going to be, there are some of these positions where you can just figure it out. Now, does Ty Simpson and does Austin Mack and Dylan Lonergan, do they have, a great opportunity to prove themselves to Kalen DeBoer? Absolutely, yes. And can they upset and unseat Jalen Milroe for the starting quarterback position here at the University of Alabama? I think, yes, they can, but I don't think it's likely. I think the most likely scenario is the player who finished sixth place in Heisman Trophy voting last year is going to be your starting quarterback. The player who's a graduate student who doesn't have a whole lot of academic work to do, who can be a full-time quarterback, is going to be your starting quarterback. I think the player who sat there on the front row at Saturday's game in Coleman Coliseum with Kalen DeBoer is going to be your starting quarterback. So there's been, you've had different pundits suggest that Jalen Milroe is not really a fit for Kalen DeBoer's system, or that he might transfer out if Austin Mack is able to unseat him, or Ty Simpson is able to unseat him, or Dylan Lonergan is able to unseat him. And look, that he might transfer out, but I think you are basing that basing that line of thinking on something that's very, very unlikely to happen. I do think Austin Mack is a talented player. I do think Ty Simpson is a talented player. I'm not incredibly sold on Dylan Lonergan, but I do think that, there's enough people that are that you have to respect that to say that he's a real player. So those, the contenders, are they real players? Are they good players? I think there's a lot of talent in that room. But come on, guys. It's Jalen Milroe's job, and he's going to be leading this program. He's going to help the transition from Saban to DeBoer, and really he's going to be the face of this year. And I think DeBoer's personality, it might be dull. It might be a little bit, he's a Midwestern guy. It may not be as charismatic as some of the other coaches in the SEC, and he may not be even as charismatic as Nick Saban was up at the podium. But the point, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's won everywhere that he's gone. He's won every single place that he's gone with resources that are not anywhere in the stratosphere of the University of Alabama. Maybe Washington in the stratosphere, yes. But he's won everywhere he's gone with limited resources. Doesn't have to be an engaging personality at the podium. I appreciate him giving the media 15 minutes at the podium yesterday. I know it was a big day for him, getting the first spring practice under his belt. It was a big day for us in the media to kind of get the new regime, kind of next steps in the new regimes. One thing, they talked about, you saw a lot of media narrative that Alabama played music at practice yesterday, and that it was upbeat and lively and that sort of thing. And I think that's fun and great and a sign of the new regime. But it made me wonder. Are we going to compare? Are we going to highlight every single little thing that Kalen DeBoer does differently than head coach Nick Saban? You talk about yesterday, we're sitting in the media room and we're like, okay, are we going to see a Dasani water bottle and a Coca-Cola water bottle? Or is it going to be Coke Zero or Diet Coke? Or is there going to be something different? Like, there was a lot of, everybody was waiting to compare differences, how it used to be to how it is now. And I think that there are times where that's absolutely appropriate. I do. I think that you could obviously outline maybe roster management, maybe analytics or style, or you can compare and contrast formations and basically general things like that. But as far as music or no music, are we really going to make a story? And this isn't a knock on the people that did, but are we really going to make a story over every little thing? Oh, Kalen DeBoer yesterday wore a traditional baseball cap. It was a crimson baseball cap with the script A. He didn't wear a straw hat. He didn't wear the old Nick Saban straw hat. He didn't have a vest on. He had his own little, pullover on. Like, we're going to compare every little. I mean, it's a new day. It's a new program. Obviously, there are things that are going to be different. It's going to be a lot of fun to cover it. Now, tomorrow is going to be a lot of fun to be there. We're going to actually get to see practice for, it sounds like, a good bit. That's still kind of up in the air. We're going to kind of play it by ear with the Alabama athletic staff, and we appreciate them and Coach DeBoer letting us view practice. Oh, my gosh, I cannot wait for it. Whatever they give us will be more than what we have had, and so it will be appreciated. So we're going to be all over it. The show may be a little later tomorrow, because I am going to be a part of that. We're going to be watching as much of the practice as they allow us. And then we're going to get to talk to Kane Womack and several defensive players right there on the field. How nuts is that? It's going to be the first time that Alabama's assistant coaches are going to be made available. And I think that makes it a lot of fun. I think you're going to get a lot more insight to the program and insight to each of the specific positions and what they're being asked to do. Not that Nick Saban didn't have that insight. I think he was just very selective of how he allowed that information to be disseminated across to the media. I think when you're talking to the actual assistant coaches, maybe the filter won't be as strong as it was from the head coach. So it's going to be a lot of fun to be there tomorrow. Kane Womack and several defensive players after practice over there at the Malmore Athletic Facility. So you're going to want to follow us at Joe Gaither 6 on the social social media machines to see all that. I'll have behind the scenes coverage. I'll have all the video that they will allow me to take right there probably on the Twitter primarily, but also on the Facebook and on the Instagram, on the Snapchat as well at Joe Gaither 6. You can find me on all the social medias as we're going to cover all kinds of practice tomorrow. And really, you get 3 practices to be a part of, and we can't wait to really find out what this new regime is going to be all about. You can read about yesterday's press conference on BamaCentral.com. We've got the entire transcript up, as well as several select highlighted stories. He talked about Keon Sabb, the Michigan transfer safety, who sounds like he's going to be a real ball player. I'm really excited to see what he does. We talked yesterday about the defensive backfield being the biggest question mark on the field. I think that's the biggest question mark. What do you think is the biggest question on the field? Obviously, come on, we all know the lowest hanging fruit is how's the coaching staff going to do? That's the obvious lowest hanging fruit. Go one more branch up and find your biggest question for this year's Alabama spring practice. We'll be covering all of it right here at Bama Central and BamaCentral.com. So that's going to do it for our show today. I'll be over at spring practice tomorrow in the Malmore facility. We cannot wait for it. We're covering Alabama basketball tonight. By the way, baseball, if you didn't see it, baseball's game against Jacksonville State is postponed due to rain. Unfortunate. We hope that you all are staying dry and staying safe. Not horrible weather today, but just not good enough weather to be playing baseball. So stay dry, stay safe, make good decisions out there if you're dealing with the weather. We'll be back to talk to you tomorrow right here on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither 6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.